Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. As you could probably tell from the title of this video, today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up part 1, so the first half of my reading for the month. So for the first half of the month, I have already read 10 books. 3 of them are rereads, and I'm not really going to talk about the rereads because I have talked about them multiple times so far this year and I just really don't want to get back into them. So I'm just going to show those off really quickly. So I reread books 3, 4, and 5 in the other series. So we have Vision in Silver, which is book 3. Marked in Flesh, which is book 4, and Etched in Bone, which is book 5. I don't have a separate review for each of these books, but if you guys care, I'm pretty sure I gave this one 4 stars. I gave Marked in Flesh 4.5, and I gave Etched in Bone 5 stars. Knocking those 3 books out, I have 7 more to talk about, and as always with these, I'm going to be going through them in order from my lowest rated to my highest rated. So the first book I have to talk about, I don't have a physical copy of, but this is Afar by Laila Del Duca, and this one is a YA, I believe, like sci-fi fantasy graphic novel slash comic. And this one was a little strange. We are following 15-year-old Botima. She's living in this like post-industrial world, but it also has like fantasy elements in it, and she's living with her parents and her younger brother. I think her brother is like 13, and they've kind of been drifting around because her father claims to be an engineer, but it seems like he is telling people things that he's not actually able to do, or he doesn't have enough training to do the things that he's telling these people that he can do. So once that gig is up, they kind of get up and move off to the next place. And we're following this main character, Botima, as she one day realizes that she now has this ability to astral project into different people on different planets that exist in this world. And at first she doesn't know what's going on. She thinks she's dreaming, and then she starts to realize that no, this is actually happening. And one of these times that she astral projects, she ends up causing someone in a different world to get hurt. So she's kind of determined to get back to this world and make sure this person is okay, and if not, then save them, because she was the reason why they were injured or whatever happened to them. On the other hand, we also get to see a little bit of her younger brother. He obviously is not happy. He wants to train to be an engineer, but being under his father, who isn't really all that good, he's kind of stuck. And then one day their parents kind of sit them down and say, hey, we're actually going to be leaving to go be salt shepherds or something crazy. And they're just like, yeah, you guys can stay here, you pretty much take care of yourselves anyway, we're going to send money back as we can, so you guys will be fine, but we're leaving. So they aren't happy about that, but they really have no choice. But the two of them end up having to leave because the younger brother ends up getting caught in some trouble, and then somebody's after him and he's like in jail for a night. And like I said, they end up, because of this, they end up not being able to stay in this town, and they get up and leave and try to go to this other place, and it's just kind of a lot going on. So with this, I felt like it had a lot of potential. There were some really good aspects of this story. However, I felt like a lot of it wasn't followed through on. I felt like this would have been a good like starter to get introduced into the world and different things going on with the different characters. It was just a lot of different elements to the story that were brought up that were never fully developed. They weren't fully, like, you know, they didn't delve into that, which I honestly didn't understand. I don't know if this was meant to be a series, but I think this came out, I think when I checked it, it said like 2017, and I haven't seen anything that indicates that there's going to be anything added to this. It was kind of left open-ended, but at the same time it was like the story kind of wrapped up, but I was just like, there wasn't enough. So yeah, basically, like I just said, it was a decent concept, but a lot of things weren't followed through on, so I couldn't end up enjoying this as much as I was wanting to, so I just gave this one 3 stars. So next, I'm going to get into some Christina Lauren books. I read 3 in a row. The first one that I have to talk about is Dating You, Hating You. Like I said, by Christina Lauren. So this book is a dual perspective story following Carter and Evie. So the two are both agents in the entertainment business in Hollywood. They aren't the same type of agent, but they do work for competing firms. So the two of them end up getting set up by mutual friends at this Halloween party, and they have this connection between each other, and they decide that it's something that they are interested in pursuing. However, not long after they meet, I believe maybe within a week, they find out that their companies are merging. Evie's company actually bought out Carter's company, and he ends up being brought over. Like I said, their companies merged. He ends up being brought over to her company, and they find out that they're kind of like, their boss is pretty much pitting them against each other to compete for this same position. Yeah, that's pretty much the basics of the story. So I went into this not really knowing what to expect. I felt like this is one of those books from Christina Lauren that had pretty average reviews, and I fell into that pretty average review as well. I gave this one 3 stars. I felt like it could have been a lot better, but there were a lot of different things about it that I didn't enjoy. So the fact that they had a boss that was pretty much pitting them against each other, I wasn't too upset about that because I know that it needed to come from somewhere. However, I did not appreciate the pettiness that the two characters showed towards each other. At first, I was just like, okay, play little pranks on each other, but not so much where it's starting to affect your work, where, you know, you're bringing performance down. That's not okay. Don't agree with that at all. And then I didn't like the fact that they went into it like, okay, yeah, we're gonna be open and talk to each other, but then anytime any little thing happened, or anytime like their boss said something, they were automatically like, oh my goodness, no, I can't believe that. Why would they do that? I'm gonna be mad because I can't believe it. But I was just like you can see that it's not their fault. It's the person that's above y'all that's manipulating things to be a certain way. And eventually they, you know, stopped and thought about it and actually talked to each other. But for the majority of the book, they was like, quick reaction, let me get mad at some, even though it's not necessarily their fault. For the most part, I couldn't enjoy this as much as I was hoping to. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. So moving on, the next 2 I have to talk about, I gave both of them 4 stars, so I'm just talking about them in the order that I finished them. So next I have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. And this one, it was another dual perspective story following Hazel and Josh, obviously from the title. The two of them actually met in college when Hazel, like, she pretty much propositioned Josh at this party, and then she throws up all over his shoes. And ever since then, they've had these awkward encounters at different moments throughout college, but once he leaves, they don't have like any sort of relationship or any contact at all. And then one day suddenly they're kind of thrown back together because she ends up becoming friends with his sister. So eventually, I can't remember, I think his sister probably suggests that they should hang out or something. I don't really remember all of the details, even though I feel like I just read this. But they were like hanging out, and he found out that his girlfriend was cheating on him. They ended up breaking up, and somehow they were just like, they need to get back into the dating field. She was trying to help cheer him up because he was just like laying around the house all the time when he wasn't working. And she was just like, you know what, I'm gonna set you up. And then somehow they were just like, okay, well, we're gonna set each other up, go on a double date, and we're gonna just take it from there. So over the course of the book, they set each other up on several different dates, and like I said, they end up double dating when they set each other up. And like, it turns out they're kind of paying more attention to each other than their actual dates, or they have dates that are just terrible. And obviously, as you can expect with the romance, they end up falling for each other. And yeah, this one was also a little weird for me, which is part of the reason why I couldn't give it a full 5 out of 5 stars. There were a few different things that weren't necessarily my favorite. One of the things was Hazel as a character herself. Hazel is one of those really quirky characters, and the way it was explained, you can tell that that's just the way she was, but at times it almost seems like it was overdone. Most of the time I didn't mind. It was just like certain moments where I'm just like, okay, you know that you're going a little overboard, but you're just like go 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 go. And I was just like, calm down, relax, take a deep breath. Like, I just wanted to tell her, just like, take a deep breath, it's gonna be okay. I know you're nervous, I know this is like you, but just take a breath for a second. Another big factor, which I'm pretty sure that most people talked about, is the moment at the end. I don't really want to get into it because I don't want to spoil it, but there was a moment that I felt like wasn't necessary, and then it kind of just like abruptly skipped forward years, and I was just like, but what was the point of that if you weren't going to go through that whole process? I know it sounds really vague, but I don't want to give any spoilers for anybody who hasn't already read this. But if you have already read it, you know what I'm talking about. Let me know what you thought about that scene towards the end of the book, or pretty much at the end of the book. Really enjoyed this book for the most part. Gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And the final Christina Lauren book I have to talk about is The Unhoneymooners, and this is their most recent release. This is the only one of their books that I read this month that's not dual perspective. It's strictly told in the main female character's perspective. We do get an epilogue which is told in the male character's perspective, but that's the only time that we get any shift in point of view. So this one is following Olive, and Olive is really unlucky. It's just like anything that could possibly go wrong with her does. It really gets her down sometimes, especially because her twin sister Amy is like really lucky. So at the beginning of the story, we are following Olive as she is prepping for her sister's wedding. I'm pretty sure it's the day of her sister's wedding, and she's kind of doing last minute tasks before the wedding actually starts. So we find out that her sister has pretty much her entire wedding, or the majority of her wedding, was funded based off of different giveaways, and the reception had this big seafood buffet. She ends up having to interact with the best man, who is actually the groom's brother, and they don't really like each other. Fast forward to the reception, we are in the speeches, and when Olive is trying to give her speech, everyone is like violently sick, like projectile vomit everywhere. And turns out it is from the seafood buffet that was there. And the only 2 people who did not get sick is Olive and the groom's brother Ethan. And because everyone is sick, there is this honeymoon that her sister won that is up for grabs, and her sister pretty much tells her like, hey, I can't go, so you should go on this vacation. And at first Olive she's just like, I'm not gonna go, but then she finds out that Ethan is also offered the honeymoon, and she's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna let him go. And they eventually end up agreeing to go on this honeymoon together, even though they don't like each other. They're just like, we can set aside our differences to go and enjoy the trip, pretty much, especially because it's like an all expense paid honeymoon that her sister won in Hawaii. This is another one, I think I said this before, I gave this one 4 stars as well. There were also things with this one that I just was not happy with at all. People wanted to keep saying that because Olive thought she was unlucky, that she was like a really negative person. Like, she was a really negative person. And at times I could see where they were coming from. But they tried to use that to kind of disregard her opinion. And it came from multiple people that because you look at things this way, that you want to see the worst in people all the time, and because of that, I'm not gonna believe you. And this came from 2 people at that point who should have really trusted her, especially her sister, because like, honestly, like, she said it best, like, what do I have to gain from lying to you? And it really made me mad. And then on top of that, I didn't like how easily everything was resolved. Like, I appreciated that she wasn't thinking negatively about the situation, but I felt like Olive was so focused on not wanting to seem like she was thinking a certain way that she just automatically took Ethan back for not trusting or believing in her at all. And they didn't really talk about it, so I wasn't really ecstatic about that either. But for the majority of the book, I did really enjoy it. All right, so that concluded my 4-star section, and all the rest of the books that I need to talk about are all 5 stars, and I'm going to talk about them in the order that I read them. I'm going to start off with Food Wars Volume 30 by Yuta Sakuda. So this is the latest volume that's out in English. I can't really get too much into this one without spoiling anything, so if you haven't already gotten up to this point and read it, I would just suggest you guys kind of like skip over it. This specific volume is following the last battle of this team food battle. So in this specific arc, all of the people from the Polaris dorm or whatever, which is the dorm that Soma lives in, along with a few others thrown in here and there, they are actually they were in the middle of the test for passing from their first year to the second year. But Arena's father actually came into the school and he pretty much kind of took over, and he wanted everybody to learn recipes a certain way and pretty much kind of shut down any creativity within the school. And we had the resistance who was just like, oh no, we ain't down for that. So pretty much they've been fighting to not get expelled from the school, and the last 2 people that were left from the resistance are Soma and Arena. So they are in a team challenge with the first and second seats of the council, and they're battling it out for who's gonna win. If the people from the council win, then all of these kids are going to be expelled. If they win, then they have a fighting chance, and I believe they get to take over all of the seats on the council, meaning they can kind of restore things the way they were before, I believe. So like I said, this book is the final battle, and I've already spoiled a lot in this specific story arc. So like I said, I'm probably going to talk about spoilers. I thought I wasn't, but I really can't talk about this without talking about spoilers. I was really happy. Going into this, I was really hoping that this was going to be the final book in this specific story arc, because they kind of been dragging it out for quite a bit. So I was really happy that this one was legit the final one, and we finally have a winner, and obviously it kind of went the way you could expect it to go. My favorite part about this specific volume was that Arena took a lot of things from Soma and used that to recreate her dish. So if you've even started this series, like in volume 1, when Soma comes to the school to audition to be able to see if he can actually get in or not, he comes in with this dish. I think it's like a chicken rice bowl, and he has like a little twist up his sleeve because he like creates this jelly that he pours over the rice, and it kind of melts. And pretty much Arena like does an ode to him. I'm sure that if you've read it, you will probably have picked that up, because that was like one of the first things where she was kind of like proven wrong, and she was really upset that she was proven wrong. And she even took his thing with the squids and with the squid and peanut butter and like incorporated that into her recipe. So I was just like, her entire recipe was kind of like I said, an ode to Soma, because everything that she did was kind of based off of things that he has done in the past, and she just used her talent to elevate that to like I think they called it like French cuisine, or maybe just cuisine, I don't know, but I thought it was really well done. And I thought it was so funny. I'm gonna show this off, because I was like, by the end she even took his like little tagline, and he always does this like happy to serve thing, and he was just like, you know what, since you took everything else from me, you might as well go ahead and do that too. So she did it, and I was just kind of cracking up by the end of that. I love this. We're back at the 5 stars. I know it kind of dropped down for a little bit. Like I said, I was tired of this storyline, because I was just like, we all know how it's going to end, even though it could have went the other way as well, but it wouldn't have made sense if things went that way. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the next stage of the story, but I love this one, and I gave it 5 stars. Moving on to the next book that I have to talk about, I have A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. This is book 3 in the Reluctant Royal series. I believe this is the last full-length novel in the series, or the last book, whatever, in the series. This one is a dual perspective story. A lot of dual perspectives in my romances this month so far, and this one is following Naya and Johan, I believe is how you say his name, Both of these characters have appeared in the previous 2 books that was in the series. So Naya is actually Naledi's cousin, if you've read that first book. After events from the first book, Naya is kind of in a weird situation. She had moved to New York after the whole thing that happened with her father. But at the beginning of this book, she's actually coming back to the solo because she is not really happy with how things have turned out while she was in New York. And she was also going back for Naledi's, pretty much her pre-wedding festivities and also the actual wedding. So we get pretty much that in the beginning, and how her and Johan are kind of thrown together because they're the only 2 at this pre-wedding event that aren't in a relationship. Everyone else is coupled off at this point. And by the end of the wedding, he ends up like fake proposing to her and agreeing, and they end up agreeing to fake date because of several different situations. Obviously, as you can expect, things change throughout the process. They end up agreeing that physical relationship is okay, even though they aren't gonna emotionally connect, but things end up happening on the back end, as you can expect with this. And I end up listening to this one on audio as well, and I loved it. And the last book that I have to talk about is Can't Escape Love, also by Alyssa Cole. This is a novella. I believe this one is 2.6. This one is following Reggie, who is Portia's sister. I don't know how well you can see based on the cover, but Reggie is disabled, but despite that, she is really accomplished. But she created this website called Girls with Glasses, and she's in the process of kicking it up a notch, taking it to the next step, however you want to say that. However, as a result of that, she is dealing with really severe insomnia, and she was just like, you know, instead of trying to go to a doctor and get sleeping pills like a normal person would, she has this guy who she watches videos, watches live streams that she used to listen to all the time, who is actually Gus. And she has gone back and watched all of his videos from the past whenever she's been in a similar situation before. However, at this current time, she's actually a little upset because she went to go find his videos and all of his videos were deleted. So she ends up contacting her sister. All of this happens before the book starts. She contacts her sister about getting his contact information, and at the beginning of this, we see her send him an email pretty much as offering to pay him to record some things. She's just like, I will pay you for your voice. I want you to record some stuff so I can use it. And he's just like, that's a little weird. And he ends up calling her to talk about it. So they pretty much come to this agreement, and he's just like, he's pretty much gonna do what they did before when he was doing his live streams, just do it over the phone. He's just like, I'll call you each night and I can talk and you can listen, and I can be like talking through my work and you can be able to fall asleep. But the first night he starts talking about his work, she realizes that he's actually talking about her favorite anime, and it's something that she's really excited for, and it's an escape room that's supposed to be happening at an upcoming anime con, and she just gets really excited for it. So after he finds out that this is her favorite show, he ends up like changing the arrangement. He's just like, you know what, I will record something for you, but I need you to help me understand what it is that everyone loves about this show. He has autism, and he has a hard time with empathy and realizing like what is actually like, you know, realizing what is so great about this show. So they agree to this, and he kind of keeps changing the arrangement a little bit because he's just like, oh, I want to hear her voice, so let me ask her to call. Then he's just like, you know what, I want to see what she looks like, let's ask her to video chat. Then it ends up progressing to them meeting in person to kind of she'll help him talk through his work and get a better understanding of what he's looking for in order to make this escape room better, especially because she's really excited for it and she wants it done the best that it could be. So they come to this agreement and they end up meeting in person, and through this whole process they start to realize that they're actually attracted to each other. They're kind of fighting it at first, but then they eventually give in and it becomes like a physical relationship as well. And it's not long, but a lot of things happen, and this book just made me extremely happy. It was unexpectedly sexy. I know I feel like all of her books are pretty sexy, but I was kind of expecting that from those. This one, I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting it to get to that point, but boy, it was good. I know each of them had their own issues that they had to work through in order to come together without like any doubts or anything like that, but it was so good. I think, like, I don't want to say that, but this was probably one of my favorite things that I read from this entire series. And that's crazy saying that, considering this is the novella. I kind of wish that they had their own novel, even though I felt like everything that happened in here made their story feel complete. I wanted more time with them. And that's how I know that I truly love a book and characters, when I just like, I want more time with them, even though I felt that their story was like well-rounded, and it was like it doesn't need more. I just want more because I just didn't have enough time with them. So obviously gave this a 5 stars. I loved it so much. So those are the books that I finished so far this month. I think for the most part I had a pretty good reading month for the first half, and hopefully the rest of the month continues on the same. That's all I have for you guys in this one. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them. I would really love to know your opinions. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye.